I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is women have to allow themselves to be used. This one is for the ladies. A provocative title, I'll admit, but I hope the episode justifies its usage. Let's get right to it. Ladies, it's my understanding that one of your primary concerns about modern dating, especially in an age where sex precedes commitment, is that you will be used. That is, you might enter into a sexual relationship with a particular man. However, this might not lead to the relationship outcome you would prefer. Maybe you're ghosted afterward, or you enter into a vague situationship that doesn't seem to go anywhere. And women are subject to considering these outcomes to be exploitative or a waste of their time. And I'm here to address this concern and help you navigate this reality successfully. To reduce the likelihood of this occurring, there are 3 things you have to do. The first is exercise appropriate discernment. Like, there are guys out there who will never give you the relationship outcome you would prefer, no matter what you do, ever. So you need to get better at figuring out who these guys are. Simply asking men, "What are you looking for?" is stupid and ineffective. It is stupid and ineffective because both the man who lies and the man who tells the truth will say the same thing. I'm looking for a long-term relationship. Men have learned long ago that you punish any other response to this question. More on that in a future episode. So ultimately, this is a problem that you created for yourselves. If you punish the truth, you're asking to be lied to. It's not a very popular opinion, but I'd like you to consider that it's not men's responsibility to be honest and transparent with you. Like, they shouldn't outright lie, but you also shouldn't expect that they're going to tell you everything either. I want you to consider that it's not their job to tell you the truth. It's your job to figure out the truth. Just like it's their job to vet you, it's your job to vet them. And if you can't get better at discerning the opportunities that are likely to lead to the outcome you would prefer, then I'm afraid you're just going to run into the same issue over and over and over again. We all make mistakes, and to a certain extent, we all have to learn the hard way. But it's like, learn your lesson and make different mistakes moving forward. Consider this problem from a professional standpoint. Wanting to get married to a high-value guy is kind of like wanting to be the CEO of a successful company. Lots of people want it. The vast majority of them will be disappointed in their wanting. If you get hired at a certain company, there is typically no assurance that you will ever become the CEO. Even if you work your ass off for 40 straight years, there is absolutely no guarantee that you will end up in the C-suite. And generally, no company will guarantee that outcome when they hire you. But you sign up for the job anyway. And you generally sign up for the job because you like the compensation package at the position for which you were hired. And this means that even if you never get promoted to CEO, you also can't really complain that you were exploited, as you were compensated for your time at the rate you agreed to. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have accepted the position. Now, you're gonna have better chances at career advancement at some companies over others, aren't you? However, both types of companies will generally tell you that they offer growth opportunities during the interview process. So if being the CEO one day is very important to you, then you have to use your discernment to figure out which type of company you're dealing with. This is because no company ever will tell you that they're hiring for a dead-end job while they're still in the hiring process, okay? Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this episode to someone who might benefit from its message, because it's word-of-mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. You can also hit the thanks button and tip me in proportion to the value you feel you've derived from this episode. I'm also proud to announce that my book, The Value of Others, is now available for pre-sale on Amazon. I'm also writing original content for my free newsletter every week. If you'd like to sign up, you can do so on my website. Finally, please fill out an inquiry form on my website if you're interested in booking a paid consultation. The links to everything I just mentioned are in the description. Okay, let's get back to it. Now, this segues into the second thing that you ladies have to do. In the absence of an explicit guarantee that you will become the CEO, how do you increase the likelihood that this will one day occur? As the employee, you're not going to get there by making demands or insisting on commitments. You're going to increase the likelihood that you'll get promoted by showing up and doing your fucking job really, really well. Every single day for as many days in a row as you can possibly muster. Otherwise, you're acting deluded and entitled. Like in a professional context, imagine believing you can get promoted without exceeding expectations. Or thinking you only have to work for a few months before you get a corner office. The CEO is a very high position and lots of people want it. To the extent that it's in demand, you increase the likelihood of winning that position by overpaying, which means doing your job really, really, really well. Just keep in mind that your job isn't really what you think your job is. It's what your boss thinks your job is. It's your boss, not you, who decides if you exceeded expectations and put in the appropriate effort. Remember, the cat decides what milk is good. However, let's not be naive. The world is not a meritocracy. The position doesn't always go to the most capable, and sometimes people who do good work get passed over. And this leads us to the third thing that women can do, namely, play their cards right. If you're shooting for the C-suite, then you have to be willing to play the Game of Thrones. If not, then set your sights lower or go find a less successful company where the competition is lower. I talk more about how to do this in my forthcoming book, The Value of Others, and my video series on how to get any man you want. In any case, those are the three things you have to do, ladies, to secure your commitment. You have to exercise your discernment, you have to do your job really, really well, and you have to play your cards right. Make sense? Now, let's focus on step 2 for a moment. To do your job really well, this is true of anyone, men and women. To do your job really well, you have to allow yourself to be used. There is no way around it. If you don't allow your employer or your customers to use you, to use your time or your service or your expertise, then you cannot expect to get what you want from them. A highly skilled worker who does not allow herself to be used is useless. And useless things typically aren't very valuable. The potential doesn't count for anything. The fact that you could, if you wanted to, is meaningless if you don't. And it's usually the case that you have to allow yourself to be used in advance of getting what you want. Kind of like how you have to work 2 weeks before you receive a paycheck. And this means that there's always a chance that you'll put in the effort and not get what you want after all. No one really likes this. Like everybody, men and women would just prefer to be given what they wanted. And everybody, men and women, are acutely aware of the possibility that they won't get what they hope to receive. For instance, I've spoken with hundreds of guys who don't want to date women anymore because they think that women are just using them for their resources. And there are women out there who absolutely use men for their resources at every level of the relationship funnel. And there is no guarantee that the next woman they go out with isn't going to do the same. However, there's really not a way around this. If men don't allow themselves to be used, they rarely get a chance to access women's sexual opportunities. This is because all men pay. It is what it is. However, just like women can get better at using their discernment in identifying the men unlikely to give them their preferred relationship outcome, men can get better at using their discernment in identifying the women likely to simply use them for resources. It works both ways. Now, in my experience, men have kind of made their peace with the necessity of being used. This is because the world treats useless men very badly, so they're kind of used to it. Women, not so much. However, the fact of the matter is that in today's sexual marketplace, you have to allow yourself to be used, women, in order to get what you want. And you may need to allow yourselves to be used longer than you might expect. This isn't your parents', let alone your grandparents' generation. When it comes to sex, it is a buyer's market, not a seller's one. This means that you might have to work longer and harder than you think you should just to get your foot in the door. Like, think of the fashion industry. Is it right? Is it fair that people work for years as unpaid interns with no guarantee of success in order to launch their careers? Right or wrong, it's what's required given prevailing market forces. There's so many people who want in that industry and there's only so many jobs. It's for you to decide whether it's worth it, not for you to decide what is necessary. For better or worse, there is only one way for women today to secure the commitment they might want without allowing themselves to be used. If they don't want to be used, they can be ornamental. However, in order to be ornamental, you have to be really, really, really pretty. And just keeping it real with you, by definition, the vast majority of you are not really, really, really pretty. So you're not going to be ornamental, and you might not want to be anyway, because what does an ornament do? Haha, trick question, nothing. It's not supposed to do anything. It's just supposed to keep quiet and testify to the status of its owner. Not a particularly flattering position in reality. In any case, in today's sexual marketplace, securing commitment from a high-value man is comparable to becoming the CEO of a successful company. To get either, you have to use your discernment to pick your appropriate opportunity. You have to do your job really, really, really well, and you have to play your cards right. And the way to actualize all three of these things is to allow yourselves to be used. You got to give to get. And most of you ain't going to get anywhere unless you give it up. Hundo P. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your support and thank you for listening. And now, a word about Stellar. If you're interested in pursuing a master's degree or a doctorate, chances are good that you'll have to take the GRE. Now, before I became a psychologist, I was actually one of the world's top GRE test prep instructors. Over 20 years, I developed a unique and practical system for dismantling every aspect of this test, and I helped thousands of students achieve top percentile scores on the exam. Today, students can learn the same system I used to achieve my own perfect score with Stellar GRE, my online GRE self-study program. I personally wrote and designed every aspect of this course. Among other things, it includes a 500-page test prep manual, thousands of practice problems, and several full-length mock exams. Just like my episodes, Stellar is designed to give students the strategies and techniques they need to succeed as clearly and succinctly as possible. And the best part is, Stellar works. My students' average score improvements are higher than my competitors' score guarantees. So create an account and start your free trial today at stellargre.com. Use the code PSYCH for 10% off any membership plan. The link is in the description.